Good morning, boys and girls. Today, we are on week 3, day 2 of our story, Island of the Blue Dolphins, and I'm going to be doing comprehension with you this week. So, before we get started, I need you to have read our story, Island of the Blue Dolphins, because we're going to be working with that text and answering some questions about it. So, if you haven't already read it, pause the video, go read it, and then come right back. The genre of our story this week is a novel. A novel is an extended work of fiction that contains story elements such as setting, plot, and theme. We talked about setting and plot yesterday. We talked about setting and theme yesterday, and you talked about plot with Miss Hudson a few weeks ago with the exposition, the rising action, the climax, the falling action. So you talked about plot with Miss Hudson, and we reviewed setting and theme yesterday. As you read this novel excerpt, which means a piece of the novel, keep asking yourself how each incident gives rise to future events. So kind of follow that plot outline as we are reading. Let's dive right into the questions. You do not have to have your book pulled out because I have the text on the slide that we'll be referencing. What words in the first paragraph tell us about the setting? Let's read that passage. From 1835 to 1853, a young Native American girl named Karana lived alone on a rugged island 75 miles off the coast of California. The author has fashioned this story out of the few facts known about her. Well, this first paragraph already gives us some information about the setting, right? Let's think. The setting tells us when and where. So, when does this story take place? 1835, right? Between 1835 and 1853. Where does this story take place? That's right. It says that she lived alone on a rugged island 75 miles off the coast of California. So this story is going to take place on a rugged island. Try to think about how things were different in 1835. What technologies didn't exist? Yeah, they didn't have cell phones or computers, so she just couldn't call anybody, right? Nope. And I just want to let you know that rugged means wild. So what kind of challenges do you think that Karana faced on a rugged or wild island? There are lots of different struggles, right? We don't know what kind of animals are on the island. She could have to make her own shelter. Let's keep reading and find out. We're going to read this passage and then we'll ask and answer the question. Karana and her people lived on the island until Aleut hunters killed some of the men. A friendly ship later took her people off the island, but she stayed there to be with her brother, who was left behind by the ship's crew. After her brother was killed by wild dogs, Karana faced the challenge of living alone on the island. The first thing I found, which I had forgotten, was that this place was near the wild dog's lair. As soon as I drew near to it, the leader came to the opening of the cave and watched me with his yellow eyes. If I built a hut there, I would have to kill him and his pack. I planned to do this anyway, but it would take much time. So why do you think, or why does Karana want to kill the wild dogs? It doesn't tell us in the text why she wants to kill them, but we're going to make an inference based on what we've read and what we know to make an educated guess about why she would want to kill the wild dogs, and we're going to use text evidence to support it. So why do you think that she would want to kill the wild dogs? Yeah, if wild dogs killed your brother or one of your family members, you probably want revenge, right? And it says in the text that her brother was killed by the wild dogs. That probably made her sad and she wanted to get even or get revenge with those dogs. And the dogs are dangerous to her as well. If they killed her brother, couldn't they kill her? Yeah. So what if she's afraid because she now has to survive on this island all by herself? What if she's afraid that they might steal her food or they might kill her? Because if we look in the text, it says if she built her hut there, she would have to kill him and his pack. She planned to do this anyway. So we can make an inference that maybe she planned or would want to kill the wild dogs because they killed her brother and that she's scared for her own safety, right? Awesome job, guys. Let's go to that next question. We're going to read the text and then answer the question just like last time. On this morning, the tide was low and most of the animals were far out, just hundreds of specks against the waves, yet the noise they made was deafening. I stayed there the rest of the day, looking around, and that night. At dawn, when the clamor started again, I left and went back to the headland. So based on what we just read, what do you think the word clamor means? Let's see. The other words around it in paragraphs 3 and 4 kind of describe the sea elephant's noise as screaming and barking. I didn't put 3 and 4, that's why I'm telling you. So the other words in paragraphs around it describe how the sea elephants sound as screaming, barking, deafening. And I looked it up in a dictionary, and clamor means noisy shouting or a loud continuous noise. If we're talking about animals in here, animals don't really shout. So clamor must mean a loud or continuous noise, right? Sometimes a word in a dictionary will give you more than one definition, and you have to use your context clues. So it says that we were talking about animals making a clamor, and animals don't shout. So we can use our context clues that we read about to determine that animals clamoring means a loud or continuous noise. Okay, identify examples of imagery, then evaluate how this imagery impacts your understanding of the text. So we kind of talked about yesterday, imagery is what the a type of figurative language that an author can use to help you visualize what is going on. And in this text, it's pretty cool because they give us some pictures on the pages, but we don't have a picture on every page. And so when we don't have pictures, the author will use specific words to help us make our own picture in our mind. So I can imagine seeing, based on this paragraph, seeing a low tide with sea elephants that are really, really far away. They almost just look like dots or specks, right? I can also imagine hearing a deafening noise and a clamor from the sea. Can you imagine a really loud, continuous noise that almost just makes you want to cover your ears? He described that very well, and it helps me get a picture in my mind of what's going on. And these images just help me to understand why Karana doesn't want to make her home here and wants to make her home somewhere else. I wouldn't want to make my home there if there's a loud clamor. So let's look at that next question. Y'all are doing awesome so far. We have this one and one more, okay? Stay with me. I put the ribs together with their edges almost touching and standing so that they curved outward, which made them impossible to climb. Between them, I wove many strands of bull kelp, which shrinks as it dries and pulls very tight. I would have used sinew to bind the ribs together, for this is stronger than kelp, but wild animals like it and soon would have gnawed that fence down. Much time went into building this. It would have taken me longer, except that the rock made one end of the fence and part of the side. So let's look at that question. Karana puts the ribs curving outward so they are impossible to climb. She uses kelp instead of sinew. Why do we think that she did this? Well, let's look back at that text to figure it out, okay? I think she's protecting her shelter from the foxes and wild animals, right? Because she doesn't want the animals to climb. That's why she made it impossible to climb. And what is the main reason that it says she used kelp instead of sinew? Look right in here in the middle. What does the text say? That's right. She didn't want to use sinew because animals like it and are attracted to it, and they would have came and gnawed her fence down, and then all of her hard work would have been for nothing. So even though kelp is not quite as strong, she knew that she needed to use it so that the animals would not be tempted to come and gnaw her fence down, right? So what motivated her to make her shelter? Why would she make a shelter like this? Because she said that she was going to kill all the dogs, but it would take a really long time, if you remember. So why would she make a shelter instead? Right, there were so many of those wild dogs that she said it was going to take her a really, really long time to kill them all. And there may have just been too many to kill. So they're clever thieves and they can eat food that she has stored. So she has to find a way to protect herself and all the food that she has to eat. Because remember, she's on this island alone trying to survive, and she does not want the animals to come and eat her food or hurt her, right? So she's making this shelter that animals cannot get into to protect herself and her food so that she can survive. We've got one more question that we're going to look at today. The morning was fresh from the rain. The smell of the tide pool was strong. Sweet odors came from the wild grasses in the ravines and from the sand plants on the dunes. I sang as I went down the trail to the beach and along the beach to the sand pit. I felt that the day was an omen of good fortune. It was a good day to begin my new home. So, what words in this paragraph, it's the end of our first half of the story, does the author use to express Karana's mood and outlook? So, first off, we need to determine what is her mood and outlook. What do you think? It kind of seems like she's happy and she can be happy by herself. She doesn't have anyone with her, and sometimes it can be hard to be happy by yourself, but to me it seems like she's happy. I can't just tell you that she's happy though, because that's just my opinion. I have to find evidence in the text to support my answer. So I say that Karana is happy. Can you help me find some evidence in the text that supports my answer? What are some key words that help me say that she's happy? Right? She says the morning was fresh from rain. She's not talking about, oh, it rained. She says the morning was fresh from rain. There were sweet odors. She was singing as she went down the trail. And she even says it was a good day to begin her new home. The author wants to show us that even though Karana is alone, she still has hope that she can survive on this island. She's happy by herself and she is trying to survive the best she can. And we found that evidence directly in the text, right? Awesome job, guys. You do not have a written assignment or anything you have to submit. All I want you to do is reread that story because we're going to look at the second half of Island of the Blue Dolphins tomorrow and answer some more questions about the text using text evidence to support our answers. Y'all did awesome, guys. Y'all have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.